My own burgers is the best.
Oh, true. Homemade.
Homemade. You know. I don't like to brag, man, but about the late 1980s, I was in Cuisine magazine with my burger recipe.
For real?
Yes. And I still upset with McDonald's.
They take your Big Macs.
The Big Mac, 2 RB patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion, sesame seed bun. I used to have that first. They called me the Mac Attack back in the day. All right, and then when they came up with the Mac Attack, 2 RB patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion, sesame seed bun, 2 of them, fries and the Coke. They advertised and I didn't get a cut.
Oh, you should have trademarked that shit.
I know.
Hey, yo, what's up? Welcome back to the Webway. Got a special guest on today. Massive mentor in my life and multiple mentors in, each people's lives, and it's cool that, had the time to come in today. For people that don't know who you are, Kenny Mac, do you want to describe who you are and I guess what you do?
I'm just a basketball player, old basketball player, from Michigan. Kenny McFadden, of course, who arrived here in the early 80s, 1982, and of course now just developing kids and trying to open up doors and give an opportunity to the game itself.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Mac. As I say, I know you're a busy man, so it's cool to get you on. But so I guess we'll turn the time all the way back. So you said you're born and raised in Michigan?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did basketball come into your life? Were you always into it, or were you into other sports and whatnot? Or
yeah, I was into all sports.
Yeah.
Of course, basketball was, of course, the street game everybody played.
Yeah.
So of course that was it. But my father was an American football player and as a coach, he played pro ball as well as all my uncles. So American football was the number one sport first.
Oh yeah.
In terms of participation.
What position were you?
Wide receiver.
Oh yeah.
I started off at 8 years old as a linebacker.
Oh yeah.
But my father played wide receiver. But I had 2 older brothers. So they had the most of the attention.
Yeah.
Given to my father, and I was just one of the young fellas trying to hang around. And
yeah.
It was a spot open because my uncle was a linebacker coach, so I knew I could start at linebacker because they had too many good players. But of course, I eventually went into wide receiver.
Oh, cool. And then when did you fall in love with basketball? Then were you just like, oh, I'm not going to be an American football player, or like how did that all happen?
Well, because my father and all my uncles tried to keep us off the streets.
Yeah.
So he kept us in all sports. Wrestling, boxing, athletics. Baseball, we done everything. But, of course, basketball was just a social game that everybody played from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And, of course, I didn't really start getting to organized ball until I got to primary school, and I'm talking about 8 or 9. But, of course, football was something that was given to us, as we was born because that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
So that started around 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And I actually played on the same team. My first football team, I played on the same team with Magic Johnson.
Holy.
Football as well.
Damn.
Yes.
So you football as well? You played?
Yeah.
Oh, so he was at your school? How did you meet him?
The Blackhawks. That was the name of our football team. It was a neighborhood team. Called the Save Way Blackhawks. And my father and my uncles was the coaches of that team. And, of course, when I was about 8, I tried out for the first time as an organized football team because my older brothers was already playing. And Magic was on the same team as I was. He was a little older, as was my older brothers. But, of course, me being the Suns coach, I was able to get in as one of the younger players to get in. And, of course, he played on that team as well. So I ended up playing that for that particular team until I went to junior high.
Yeah.
And then, of course, from there, then you started really focusing on different type of sports, which is I started focusing on wrestling because my brother done that as well.
Yeah.
And, of course, athletics and then, of course, basketball. But every sport had a different season, all right? So it wasn't like just a winter sport in the summer. We had the fall sports. We had the winter. We had the spring. We had the summer. Yeah. So each season you played a different type of sport.
Yeah. So Magic Johnson, did you like keep in touch with him like during your high school years or – because was he from the same area you were from, and that's why you sort of knew him?
That's right. Yeah. He's from the same neighborhood.
Oh,
he's about 3 blocks away.
That's crazy.
But unfortunately, in 1976, when they brought in desegregation, all right, which is because our neighborhood was all African American, and they brought in desegregation, so they brought in busing. So Magic stayed on the other side of the motorway. Oh. All right, so he actually got bused out of town into high school to a different high school called Everett. All right.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, we had to meet them in the championship all the time. And, of course, you know who won.
Was he big back then, too?
Oh, yeah. Well, he was big.
Yeah.
I mean, in ninth grade, I remember seeing him because I was on the JV team, and he was 6'5". All right, he came in ninth grade. That's like 13, 14 years old. But he arrived in seventh grade. He was only like 5'6", 5'7". By ninth grade, he was 6'5".
What? So what? That's 13 years old.
Yeah, 13 years
and
old.
And he's 6'5".
6'5", playing point guard. And I just remember watching that game when he played that particular game, and he got the state record. And we played 6-minute quarters.
Yeah.
All right. And he had actually fouled out in the third quarter, but he scored 48 points. He had 20 rebounds and 12 assists. But he didn't play the fourth quarter.
6-minute quarters.
6-minute quarters.
So that's the maximum of 18 minutes he would have played.
Exactly. So that's the state record.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And then he went off to, of course, Everett. And I went to Sexton High School.
Okay.
And, of course, Everett ended up winning, and they ended up winning the state championship. And, of course, he got the state championship record as well. He scored 54 points, mostly from the corner, shooting jumpers.
True.
Yeah, he was a pure jump shooter back in those days. He was about 6'7" at that stage, right before he went to Michigan State.
Damn. And then, obviously, you say he went off to Michigan State. You went to Washington State University.
That's right.
How was that?
Oh, that was good.
Yeah?
It was an experience.
Yeah.
Because I was supposed to have went to Michigan State because I was getting recruited by Michigan State. And I come out of high school in 1979, and that's the year they won the championship. And Judd Heathcote, who was the coach.
Yeah.
I went to all their practices. I trained with them for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I started going out training with Michigan State when I was probably about 14 years old. I used to ride my bike about 2 hours to get out to East Lansing and play. They used to play 4-on-4 with some of the NBA players, George Gervin and guys like that. And Magic would get recruited over there. So they allowed me to play. It took me 2 years to get on the court to actually get to play with them.
Yeah.
And but once I got to my senior year, the team was so strong, the coach said, listen, I advise you to go to a junior college in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
Because we stacked.
Yeah.
And if you come here, you won't play. You'll just basically sit on the bench because we got a strong team. And they had a senior running at the point, and they had a couple good players coming off the bench. So they ended up winning the national championship. And then it was funny that when I was in Cleveland watching the national championship game, and they beat Larry Bird in that national championship game, and then Urban got drafted to the Los Angeles Lakers. So after that year, he actually called me up, and he said to me, don't go to Michigan State. You need to come out west.
True.
All right, because he had just got to L.A., and, of course,
L.A.
We're in Michigan. I mean, it snows all the time. And he's sitting up in the sunshine, palm trees, he grabbing oranges off trees and looking at them and all that sort of stuff. I went out there to a visit to see USC.
Yeah.
Which is in L.A.
Yeah.
And, of course, George Raveling was recruiting me at Washington State. That was the Pac-10 as well.
Yeah.
And so I decided, because they had all 5 starters gone,
yeah,
from Washington State. And so he convinced me to go out there. So I went out there and played. And, of course, UCLA, USC, Arizona State, Oregon State, it was all in our conference. So it was a chance for me to go out west.
Yeah.
But, of course, it took me 3 hours to drive out. 3 days to drive out from Michigan to the state of Washington.
It took you 3 days?
Yeah, 2,800 miles.
Oh.
Right, so me and my mother, we drove out there. She wanted rest. I think I could have drove all the way, but she thought I was going to fall asleep. So it took us 3 days because we had to take a couple of rest stops. But when I went out there, of course, it was culture shock.
Yeah. I bet. A lot different.
It was 8,000 people in that city, and it's called Pullman, Washington, which is 80 miles away from Spokane,
yeah,
which Gonzaga is.
Yeah.
And the other side of the Rockies from University of Washington. And it was 25,000 students, but only 8,000 people. So only had like 3 streets, in that whole, well, I wouldn't even call it a city, that town, I would say. And but in terms of the sport itself, outstanding. Outstanding. Our first game was at the Alaskan Shootout, which happened to be Patrick Ewing's debut game, because he just was a freshman then at Georgetown. And, of course, that was the year Michael Jordan came in as a freshman at North Carolina. And so it was we went up there, and all those teams was up there playing. So that was an experience.
Yeah.
Number one, being able to play against guys like Patrick, because Patrick Ewing was the first team All-American in 8th grade when he was only like 12 years old. So you knew who Patrick Ewing was, and he was the main man. Michael Jordan, you didn't know who Michael Jordan was.
Yes.
James Worthy was the man at North Carolina.
Yeah, and he didn't really broken out yet.
He haven't broken out yet. So it was a great opportunity at Washington State to open up, being able to play some of the top people, and more important, be up in Alaska.
Yeah.
For the first time coming from Michigan.
Yeah.
But that first year was an eye-opening. It was the first time ESPN came in, all right? And I was lucky enough to, as that first time ever playing in the Pac-10, we played against UCLA. Magic had just got injured, playing for the Lakers.
Yeah.
He had a knee surgery, and the warm-ups, he actually came into the game, and doing the warm-ups, got a standing ovation, and, of course, he came up and gave me a high five.
Yeah.
Sat in the stands, so I was so pumped up, and Angelo Hill, who was also on that team.
Oh, true.
Tyrone Brown, Ronnie Joyner, Ollie Johnson, we all played on that same team at the same time. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that was the first Pac-10 live game on ESPN. And, of course, I went back door in the first play at UCLA. It was about 18,000 people, and then UCLA was ranked third in the country at that stage.
Yeah, well, you guys ranked? Were you ranked?
We weren't ranked.
No.
Hey, because it was Oregon State was ranked number 1 in our conference.
Oh, yeah.
And UCLA was ranked third, and Arizona State with Byron Scott and Fat Lever, they was ranked 5. So the Pac-10 was strong. But I went back door. He threw me a bounce pass, and then I opened up the Pac-10 with a dunk.
Oh.
So they played those highlights over and over. And
shit.
I called home and made sure all my homeboys was watching it.
You see that?
So, no, but it was great experience.
Yeah.
Great experience at Washington State.
It's awesome. You mentioned Michael Jordan and how he didn't break out and stuff. And obviously, at the moment, there was a massive thing on Netflix called The Last Dance, and I'm sure you've watched it. From a coach, from a massive basketball guy. How did you find that whole series?
Oh, it was interesting. I like to see the inside information. I knew some of it.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, when that was going on, I was coming back when I played with the Saints. That was my off season here, and I was going back trying to play with the Detroit Pistons in those days. So I was on the second team. So I trained with the Isaiahs, the Dennis Robbins, and the Benny Johnsons, and those guys. And the reason why I couldn't get into the NBA because of Benny Johnson, Joe Dumas, and of course Isaiah Thomas was the 3 guards. And but I got a chance to understand what was going on with the Jordan rules.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, because Isaiah is only from Chicago, he used to come over to Michigan and play with us, with Magic and all the rest of them. So I kind of knew them pretty closely.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity to understand what Jordan was all about. We didn't really like Jordan, all right? We didn't think he was all that.
Yeah.
And even though when I came back to New Zealand, I used to tell everybody he's nowhere near what Magic was.
Yeah.
Because I like playing with Magic because Magic was the type of guy, as a young person, when I used to play with him, he would pick you up.
Yeah.
Rather than put you down.
Like MJ would.
You see, and I used to tell people when I come back here, Michael Jordan, I said, well, you wouldn't want to play with him.
Hell no.
Because at the end of the day, he was a hard man.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that a little bit in The Last Dance. Like,
That's
he
right.
bullies everyone. But, I think it goes back to him sort of saying, I would, treat myself the same as well. But as you say, I'd 100% rather play with Magic as well.
100%.
Yeah.
But in terms of Michael's talent, I can understand why he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
Once I sat back and looked at it.
Yeah.
But as it was going on, during the 80s when it was actually going on, I kind of knew the inside information.
Yeah.
But, of course, when you looked at the documentary and you looked at some of the footage, which I never seen in the practices, even though I knew that was happening because I heard rumors, about the Steve Kerr punching and fighting and the swaying, but that was not unnormal.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do that, including coaches back in those days.
Yeah.
When I actually watched it, I seen the intensity that he was bringing, but I knew he was going to bring that type of intensity to get through the Pistons. Because the Pistons was all about bad boys.
Yeah.
All right?
You're not coming in the lane.
And the Piston, as you know, is a
hard hitter.
Combustion. All right? So if you're going in for layups, there's no layups.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I knew that he had to lift up his team. And when I seen it, I got me motivated to say that I knew he was such a great player that with Phil Jackson, being able to coordinate this energy, but he had to be able to bring those players up in terms of their mental fitness.
Yeah, for sure.
So when I look at that Last Dance, once again, it motivated myself.
Yeah, for sure. And I've asked quite a lot of, it's funny because I asked quite a lot of basketball players, what was your favorite part? and ask non-basketball players, what was your favorite part? And usually non-basketball players be like, oh, he's a crazy basketball player, blah, blah. But the basketball players say, my favorite part was Dennis Rodman and how he went to Vegas, because imagine that happening right now, like LeBron in the finals is like, sorry, coach, I got to go to Vegas for a few days to get my head right. That would never happen. You know what I mean? It's just like, what do you think about that whole situation?
Well, Dennis itself was unique.
Yeah.
Because I know Dennis personally.
Yeah.
All right, so I know quiet Dennis when he first arrived.
Yeah.
And if you ever see 30 for 30, you understand Dennis, who he really is. And he was that guy arriving. And, of course, Chuck Daly done a great job of managing him.
Yeah.
But because he was so open to, constructive criticism in those days, he done whatever anyone says. But the Pistons in those days, when he was at Pistons, before he went to, the Bulls, he was disciplined. Yeah. Because you had the Isaiahs, who was a tough guy. You had the Bill Lambiers. You had the Rick Mahorns. And you had one of the best coaches ever in the league, which is Chuck Daly, of course. So they had him controlled. It was just that one party that changed him when he met up with Madonna. All right? And after the Madonna incident, of course, that's after Chuck Daly had left and he got traded to, the Spurs. And when he arrived in pink hair, then he became a different type of Dennis Rodman. Yeah. All right? But in terms of him trying to manage him, there was only one person that actually could control him, all right, which was Chuck Daly. Yeah. All right? But the only one who could manage him was Phil Jackson. Yeah. All right? And for him to be able to get what was needed, because at that stage, Dennis knew exactly what his role was, which is to play defense, get the rebound, and listen to Michael Jordan. And so, all right? But, of course, he had that demon that was calling him, which is called the party. All right? And he loves to party. All right? So when you that wild, and then when Phil Jackson, who is a genius in the game, had said to Michael, and Michael, of course, as you know, even in the documentary, he wasn't too happy with it, but Phil knew that, listen, I got to let this guy go, And I think Michael and Phil knew that he wasn't going to come back on time, all right? But because it did happen, it didn't get him into the stage where, because as you know, Scottie Pippen was having problems in those days, and they really needed Dennis there, and they needed him to do what he done. So it allowed him to do that. Yeah. But it was only going to be Michael Jordan who's going to be able to make sure that he came back. Yeah. And I'm not saying being back on time. I'm just showing back up and playing. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you'd be still in Vegas. Yeah, for sure. I just thought it was crazy, like, that it was in the finals. It wasn't even in the regular season. Do you know what I mean? That honestly blew my mind, but yeah, good on him. I mean, he came back and he was still winning the sprint races in practice and stuff. 100%. I mean, he's obviously a head case, but so good on him. And as you say, Phil Jackson's an absolute genius. Like, being able to put, Michael Jordan, who, is Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and make them all work together. That's right. Unbelievable. That's right. So, obviously went to Washington State, and then you had the opportunity to go to two places, right? You had the opportunity to go to, is it Czechoslovakia? Yeah. Or New Zealand? That's right. Why New Zealand? Well, because, first of all, I got hurt my senior year at Washington State. Okay. I hit my head on the backboard versus Ohio State. Like going for a dunk? Yeah, no, going for a block. Your head? Yeah. So I fell on my hip, dislocated my hip, pulled my groin. Oh, my. So I was out my senior year until the last 5 games. And Coach basically said after our last game, listen, you got to go overseas to prove to the scouts that you still can play basketball. Sure. So if you hadn't got injured, you probably wouldn't even be able to come to New Zealand. You would have been in the NBA. Well, yeah. Yeah, that was the dream, But because you injured in your last year, and especially in those days, they want to see you play. Yeah, for sure. All right, so a guy who didn't play that much the senior year, they're looking at the next person. The window of opportunity is closing. So he said, opportunity to go. I said, I'm ready to go now. He said, where? Czechoslovakia? Like he said, New Zealand. I said, who speak English? He said, New Zealand. I was on the plane the next day. All right, see you later. Yeah.
Shit, so it was as easy as that?
It was easy as that.
What did you think, like, when you thought New Zealand, were you like, what the fuck's that? Like, well,
I knew Clyde Huntley had already been there because he went to Washington State.
That's right.
So he had came back and was talking to us when we arrived there and said, I'm playing in New Zealand. We're like, oh, yeah, man. We didn't think nothing of it. Even though when I came my first year from New Zealand and I came back and I told people, they said, what you doing? I'm playing pro ball for New Zealand. They said, New Zealand? I said, yeah, you know where that at? Yeah, man, that's over there by New Jersey. I said, no, man, it's down there by Australia. He said, oh, yeah, Australia. I said, the kangaroos. Oh, yeah, I know what it is. So that's the whole, and this is 1982.
Yeah.
Right? So, but in saying that, I arrived here in 1982, and the Saints was 0-15. They haven't won no games, and it was second division.
Was Nick Mills running it then?
Yeah, Nick Mills had just got there as a sponsor.
For the what's this nightclub? The Exchequer.
Yeah, but it was night sight when I arrived.
Oh, okay.
It was like a public bar.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been one of the worst places I ever walked into my life on that first day. Because I arrived here, and we had practice. As soon as I came from the airport, they gave me a ball and they said, spin it. We want some media. So I spent it, and a lot of people took a lot of photos. And the front page of Dominion was God Sent a Saint. All right? And they had this photo of me. And I was playing for the Saints, of course.
Yeah.
And then we went straight to the practice, all right, from the airport.
So jet lagged?
Well, not only jet lag, but we arrived in airport was a shed. It wasn't Wellington Airport as you can know it. It was just a shed. So I got out of the plane. We went straight to the gym and walked in. It was St. Pat's College.
Oh, my God. Not the same gym?
Same gym.
Oh, my God.
As a matter of fact, that was only about 3 or 4 years old, all right? And I walked in and I said, I'm just coming from Pac-10. We going first class. We playing in front of 18,000 people. And they walked in the gym and said, this is your home court. I said, what? I said, where's the stands at? They said, up here. And I walked on the court. I seen the brick seats. And then I said to myself, well, whatever it takes to get to the NBA.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, my God.
So that was what we started. And, of course, that year we ended up, and I was the only import. But we ended up, winning the championship, the second division championship. I had to average 42 to make that happen. But we ended up winning that championship. And then, of course, we went to 7 straight championships. We got moved up to the first division because it was promotion relegation back in those days. You win the second division, you move up.
Yeah.
You take last in the first division, you get dropped.
Yeah.
But, it was called Night Sight because, like I said, it was a public bar.
Yeah.
And that first night, I went to Nick Mills' establishment because he's won him, Tom Pivek, and this guy by the name of Mike Bazzalo, who ran the organizations, picked me up at the airport. And then they say, well, come on to the club at night. I said, oh, yeah, man, okay, club. I can understand that because, once again, I'm coming out of college. I just turned 21.
Yeah.
So you couldn't drink, until you're 21, in the United States. So I said, listen, the club, I'm down for that. So I walked in, and, of course, as I walked in, a beer bottle went past my head and crashed against the wall, and the fight was breaking out in the corner. I'm thinking, what in the hell did I get myself into? And then Nick Mills just handed me 2 pints of beer. And I was shocked because, once again, I'm coming out of college. You don't drink beer in front of no coaches or nobody that got any type of power in your organization. I'm thinking, what kind of place is this? And Clyde Huntley was with me. And because Clyde Huntley already been there. And he said, let's go ahead and just drink it. So once I took a taste, it was nasty anyway. I didn't finish drinking it, but I'm thinking, this is a crazy place.
Right.
But we end up, the next year, they changed it to Exchequer.
Yeah.
They upgraded it.
Yeah.
They done the club up, and then, of course, you had to get in there basically in a suit.
Yeah.
So they end up changing to Exchequer Saints Cabaret.
Yeah.
Oh, Exchequer Cabaret, and that was the sponsor, Exchequer Saints.
That was down on Lambton Quay, right? Up those stairs?
Yeah, up the Plymouth
steps. Yeah. And that's crazy because you ended up getting what, 4? How many championships? 4 championships with the Saints?
5.
5.
Yeah, 5. 5 in 7 years.
Yeah. So when you first got into New Zealand, what did you think of just New Zealand, not in terms of the basketball, but just the place?
Oh, the place was great.
Yeah.
Because once again, I arrived into Wellington. I just left Pullman, Washington.
True.
2 blocks.
Yeah.
8,000 people.
Yeah.
So when I pulled up across the harbor on the water and I seen the city, I I have arrived.
Yeah.
I'm actually in a city.
Thank God I didn't go Czechoslovakia.
Thanks God, man. Because I already heard the horror stories about Europe. People talking about how they couldn't speak English and they throw hot pennies at you and all type of stuff. So I just wanted a place I can communicate. Yeah. Even though I couldn't understand what nobody's saying.
Yeah.
Because of the New Zealand accent.
True.
Everybody spoke so fast.
Yeah. All
right. So I just say yes, and had no idea what they was talking about.
Yeah.
But of course, they had a nightlife. You had a city.
Yeah, nice people.
And you had nice people.
Yeah.
And great food.
Yeah, that's awesome. So who, when you first came to the Saints, who were some of the key people that people might know that was on your team?
Oh, Peter Rusko.
Peter Rusko?
Yeah, Peter Rusko.
Big Pete Rusko.
Yeah, Peter Rusko. So he was about to be the only one at that stage when I first arrived. Because all I said to myself after the first practice, when I arrived, I said, if I can get one guy to get me the rebound, we're going to win. All right? Now, I looked at Peter, and Peter had won the championship at St. Pat's, 1978. This is 1982, and people said, oh, Peter, he's the man. He's a great defender and all of this sort of stuff. So I looked at him. I seen him in the dunk. He dunked it in the line, and he had a shot, and he's strong on the rebounds. So after the practice, I walked up to Mike Bazzalo, who was our accountant. And I said to him, we're going to create a dynasty. He laughed at me. And I said the same thing to the coach, all right, who ended up getting fired after 2 weeks. And I said to him, I said, we're gonna have a dynasty. He just laughed and said, oh, we're interested in winning the game, all right? 2 weeks later, they fired him and named me the player coach, all right?
You were the player coach after 2 weeks of being in New Zealand?
Yeah. So I'll play a coach throughout my whole career at the Saints.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So what? How did that even come about? Were you just like...
They fired him.
And you were just like, let me do it?
No, they said, you got the job. I didn't ask for the job.
Put the CV in?
No, he said, you're no longer the head coach now. Because our first practice, of course, I had to change it. We was doing stuff that part of my grandfather was doing. So I said, listen. And the guy was Fred Sawyer. He was American.
Yeah.
He actually came out here and as a PE teacher for St. Pat's College. All right? So he played some basketball, but he wasn't a basketball I guess, guru who stayed up with the times, so to speak. All right? So I'm just coming out of Pac-10 First Division basketball. So I said to him, throw that stuff out.
Yeah.
Let's put in our Washington State offense. All right? So we put in our Washington State offense, our Washington State press, so we put everything. And then, of course, once I started playing, and I think afterwards the management just came and said, we fired the coach, and you're no longer you're taking the team. So they just gave me a coach as assistant coach to run the bench.
Yeah.
All right. And then the rest of it was history.
That is crazy, man. I didn't even realize that. Oh, man, that's amazing. So Saints obviously did really well and got some championships there. And then after Saints finished, you started a thing called Hoop Club, right?
Yeah.
So how did that all come about? Did you always know that you wanted to be a coach after you finished playing?
Well, I knew I was going to be a coach once they named me to be a coach because one of my jobs, of course, for my tender with the Saints, not only coaching the team, to coach every St. Pat's team, feeder team, the primary schools at St. Pat's, the intermediate schools at St. Pat's, and I ran the St. Pat's basketball. I coached at St. Pat's as well. Yeah. All right, at St. Pat's College. Yeah. So I had all that system being built. And, of course, once I retired in 1996, I realized that everybody retired at the same time, and we had no second division. Because about the time 1990 came, club structure was over. Because when we started in 1982, it was St. Pat's Basketball Club, which is the Saints. Yeah. All right, we had club structure through Wellington. Yeah. All the way until 1990, when National Leagues went professional. And then our team changed to Exchequer Saints Limited Company. All right? Yeah. So the St. Pat's Club was no longer affiliated with the team. Yeah. But once I retired, we didn't have no second division. We had no feeder team. So when I look back and said, well, who's coming through? We had nobody. So I said to myself, man, the biggest gap in this country is club structure. Yeah, absolutely. Because it just died out. So I said to myself in 1996, I'm going to start a club. Yeah. So what I did is I was out there and in the Hutt Valley. Yeah. Because I started working, I thought, listen, let me go into the shoe industry. Because that was also an area of lacking. Yeah. Because when I arrived here, you had no basketball boots. Nah. Zero. So I used to bring all my Washington State gears here, or go back to state and bring gears. I'm thinking, man, I can go into business. Yeah. Because if you had to buy a pair of basketball boots, it's going to cost you $300 plus. Shit. All right, and they weren't even no good. The ones it was having. Yeah. So Lifestyle Sports had started. So I was working at Lifestyle Sports out in the Hut, and I think I'm going to go into the shoe industry. And that's when the boom came in the 1990s. The N1. N1s, the Air Jordans, and the Converse. So basketball boots was huge. It was casual. Yeah. A lot of casual. So I'm going into that business. So when I was in there selling shoes, basketball boots, parents was coming up to me and saying, hey, Kenny, do you know where? And at this stage, I finished playing with the Saints, right? Yeah. And then they said, where can my kid join the club? I said, ain't no clubs here. Then next one. I said to myself, one day I said, listen, I'm going to just take a survey. Yeah. Because I'm selling shoes like hotcakes. All right? I mean, we couldn't get them in enough. Yeah. And then, Grandma Mons, I don't know if you remember that, Larry Johnson shoes. I mean, they had all type of Charles Barkley had some nice shoes coming. And I said to myself, I'm just going to take a survey how many people want to join the club. Within a week, I had 100 people signed up, interested in the club. So I said, I'm going to hire out Nash Stadium. Yeah. And I'm going to see Walter Nash. First day, we're going to run Hoop Club. All right? $5. All right, to join Hoop Club. It was 110 people signed up. All right? And then, of course, from there, I started going to different clubs.
Yeah.
So me, Angelo Robinson, Terry Starworth,
Yeah.
you know, we said, listen, we're going to do hoop club in different areas. I'm going to do the Wellington area.
Yeah.
Angelo, you're going to do up in Capity. Terry Starworth, we're going to do Hutt Valley. And Willie Tarima
And the
is going to do
Porido.
Polaroid.
Yeah.
And then that's when hoop club started. So we said, listen, we're going to start at age 5
Yeah.
and focus all the way to age 12 and 13.
Damn. And that, so, because how long did you do hoop club? Because you obviously transitioned from hoop club to New Zealand basketball, New Zealand Basketball Academy.
Yeah.
So how long did hoop club go for?
Well, hoop club's still going on.
Still going?
Yeah, still
Oh,
going.
cool.
But in the early days, I did hoop club I had 8 hoop clubs in 6 days.
That's right. You're Kobeni,
Yeah, I
you're
was at
Nenville,
Nenville,
you're heaps.
Newlands, Tower, Potarua Rec, Clementon, Papa Kofi,
That's right.
Karori.
I think I went to about 5 of them.
Yeah. So that was that whole area over there. But then what ended up happening is some of our players, as you know, were starting to get so good. All right? And I thought to myself, listen, some of these kids are good enough to even get scholarships. All right? But, of course, because we only focus on grassroots,
Yeah.
all right? And I had told everybody, you know, we got to start from the root to get to the fruit.
Yeah.
All right? As you know, a lot of people want to get the best players and say, listen, I can do this for you, I can do that for you. And
Yeah.
they're 16, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
I wanted to start at 5.
Yeah.
All right? So that way you can establish a work ethic.
Exactly.
And to me, I had always said the difference between here and the United States is the coaches and the training.
Yeah.
If you train players and give them opportunity they do in the States, you will get the same result.
Absolutely.
All right? So about 2000 came along, and we said to myself, listen, one of our number one goals is to get some of these girls, all right, a chance to go to the Olympics, because we had a hoop club girls team
Yeah.
with Rebecca Cotton, and Megan Campaign,
Yeah.
and Leah Kinney, and a few other girls who was locally.
Yeah.
So we put a hoop club girls team in the first division,
Yeah.
and those girls end up going to the 2000 Olympics, right, and represent New Zealand.
Yeah.
And then by 2006, when I was a development officer
Yeah.
for Wellington basketball, and hoop club was still going, and I said to Vody in the office one day, I'm going to get a player into the NBA. He said, oh, come on, Kenny. I said, that's put it on the top of the list.
Yeah.
I said, I know the way these guys are going, because now I'm starting to get some couple of kids interested in scholarships.
Yeah.
You know, so I started sending some players over to scholarships. I sent a guy by the name of Kyle Langston, you know, who was 6'10" in the 90s. It was the first one. But at that stage, Willie Collins was coming through. I was coaching Wellington College at that stage.
Yeah.
You know, and then Craig Bradshaw was coming through. And they wanted to go to the States. And Craig Bradshaw had a lot of talent.
He was.
I seen him the first time when I sold him a pair of 14s when he was 12. And I looked at his mother. And then I looked at him. Then I looked at his feet. And I said to her, I said, Miss Bradshaw, your boy want to play a bit of basketball? And he said, yeah. So he started playing for St. Bernard's.
Yeah.
And then he ended up transferring to Wellington College. And then he came to me and said he wanted a scholarship. And I said, you know, Big Craig, if you keep working, because he had the talent,
Yeah.
we can get him a scholarship.
Yeah.
So he ended up going to Winthrop University.
That's right.
All right. And then at that stage, we're going into about 2007 and 2008 when I was involved with Junior Tall Blacks.
Yeah.
All right. And Dion ended up making the Junior Tall Black
Yeah.
at age 14.
Yeah.
And we went on over to San Diego with Corey Webster, Thomas Abercrombie, Alex Pledger, B.J. Anthony, and those guys. And we played against Kevin Durant and those guys, you know, Mike Connolly and Lopez brothers and all these NBA players. And then I said to myself, I said, man, we're not too far off, even though we got blown out.
Yeah.
All right? But I'm thinking these guys actually train as a New Zealand team. As you know, we train at 3 camps a year.
Yeah.
And then I said, listen, we got the 2009 World Champs, you know, which I was coaching the Junior Tall Blacks.
Yeah.
So 2009 up in Auckland.
Yeah.
After that series, I said to myself, I probably can start academy myself
Yeah.
and get people over to the States a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So that's when New Zealand Basketball Academy came along. And we wanted to focus on age 12 to 18.
Yeah.
But then the focus changed. It was about student athletes.
Yeah.
All right? It was about talking to the kids, not only about playing basketball, it's about getting scholarships, but more important, how's your grades?
Exactly. Because
Right.
it doesn't matter if you're the best player in the world. If you haven't got good grades, they're not going to let you in the college. And people don't understand that. And I guess the younger they understand that, the better they're going to be in the future.
100%.
Yeah.
And you can't not focus with these kids, you know, at 17, 18, and trying to work a scholarship issue with them.
Yeah.
But they haven't done the work. because you can't get back yesterday.
Oh, exactly.
So when you're year 13 and all of a sudden you're missing all these credits, you can't go back. And more important, when you leave school and you don't have a GPA, and you don't have the proper courses that have been taken because somebody at the school didn't say, listen, ain't no need to be taking basket weaving, all right, or cooking and trying to get a scholarship into a Div 1 school, even though you got the talent for it.
Yeah.
So New Zealand Basketball Academy, the reason why we set that up is to make sure from age 12, if you're focusing on it and you want to do it, coming out of hoop club, let's take care of the business.
Yeah.
But more important, let's go over to the States.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over there and play.
Yeah.
All right, I think your squad, with yourself and Steven, after we win in all these championships from 17s, to 19s, I said the same thing because the New Zealand team, when your brother Thomas was there, we didn't want to go to Australia and play. Yeah. The Junior Tall Blacks. We wanted to go to Hawaii. Yeah. So I went to Hawaii and played, and I'm thinking, this is where we need to be. Yeah. For number one, for the competition to go against the best in the world. Yeah. And number two, to be seen by scouts. For sure. So that first tour, with you guys that went on over as a group after we won the 17s and 19s, you said, let's go test our skills over into the States. And once I seen how that was operating, even though I knew AAU was strong, but I knew now that we can compete. Yeah. I said, listen, I'm going to start taking players there every year. So our first year, 2011, when we took two teams, a boys and a girls team, we done pretty well. We did. And after that, I said to myself, we might as well go ahead and start taking under 13s. Yeah. Under 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s. So now we take up to 8 to 10 teams. So we got traveling parties of about 140. That's crazy. The younger ones is just getting experience of playing in the States. Yeah. So they play in the convention center. You walk into the convention center and you walk into that and you got 81 courts. All right? You're not going to see that in New Zealand. Nah, it's a whole different world. When they get on the plane, they say, listen, I need to get better. Yeah. Now, when you take your under 16s team there, they actually showcasing their skills where scouts are saying, I'm going to take a look at this guy. Yeah. Let's see what he looks like next year. So then when we take our varsity team, that's the time for the kids to now start signing letter of intents and receiving scholarships because they done had 3 years of Vegas. But more important, just like Steven's first year there, after he played over there, he got on a plane and he said to me, I can play with these guys. Yeah. Of course you can. Yeah. We trade every day. Yeah. So what's stopping you to think that this guy here put his pants legs on one at a time, just like you? Exactly. That's all it is, right? That's right. If you train harder, even though we win in all the championships here, you can win championships over there. Exactly. So, that was the main purpose, is to be in showcasing players and giving them opportunity. Yeah. That's crazy. As a coach and what you've done for New Zealand basketball, and especially in the Wellington region, is unbelievable. And I think one of the biggest, accomplishments you've done is obviously get, one of my friends and, person that we know well, Stephen Adams, to the NBA. So I want to bring it all the way back. When did you first see Steve? When he was about 14. Yeah. It's probably about, fortunately, it was, which is unique, about 6 months after I said to Bodie, we got to get a guy in the NBA. Now, he walked through the door. I was on my computer up in the office, in the old show buildings, in the morning, as normal. And, of course, Warren Adams walked in. Oh, yeah. All right? And he walked in with that kid. And I looked, and I said, man, that's Big Warren. What do you want? I ain't seen him in a while. He's been driving trucks. Yeah. We got a kid look just like him. I'm thinking, Warren got another kid? I know all his kids, and that's not one of them. So he walk up in the office, I want to introduce you to my brother. Your brother? What's his name? Steven. I looked at him. He's only about 6'3", 6'4". Dirty mustache, long hair. Yeah. And I said, what do you want? What do you want to do? He said, I want to make it to the NBA. I said, NBA? I looked at Warren, 6'10". I know the family. All right, Ralph, I played with Ralph as well, 6'7". And he was good, right? He was good. Yeah. He could have been in the NBA himself. Yeah. Oh, he's probably one of the best talents I've ever seen in New Zealand. Damn. All right, 6'7", 3-point shooter, ball handler. He's played two guard for us with the Saints. 6'7". 6'7". I'm throwing half-court alley-oops. He catching and throwing them in backwards, right? So he had the whole total package outside the education and his discipline. Yeah. All right? And I said, can you get up in the morning? Because we just finished morning trainings. Yeah. He said, yeah, no problem. I said, all right. I said, what about school? I hate it. I said, oh, man, ain't no way in the world you can make the NBA. Because at the end of the day, just like we talked about, if you don't pass your grades, you can't get a scholarship. And as you know, we got a one-and-done rule. You got to go to college at least 1 year, and then make your way into the NBA.
Exactly.
I said, you can't make it. He said, all right, I'll do it. All right. And that was my first impression. I said, listen, okay, well, we'll be here tomorrow at 6. All right. So he showed up, him and Sid, his older brother.
Yeah.
And Steve couldn't even do a left-hand layup. Had an ugly jump shot. All right. And you fellas was in there running. You running rings around them. All right. The runs was going on and get very intense. And, of course, I put him on my team.
Yeah.
The first time I played. And I put Sid on the other team. And I just want to test him.
Yeah.
Because in those days, my legs were still a little fresh, So I'm kicking him the ball. I'm trying to see who he is and how that. And he didn't have much other than he wanted to play. So, but about 6 months later, he was still coming.
Yeah.
Right. And as you know, the measure of a player is how you put it in.
Yeah.
All right. If you're here today, are you going to be here tomorrow?
Exactly.
Are you here going to be on the next day? So of course, that year, he couldn't play reps on his first year, and then the next year, of course, he was good enough to try out for the under-17s.
Yep.
And then, of course, you running at the point, Stanley, Victor, Chris McIntyre and him, starting lineup. And I said to myself, we got something special.
Absolutely.
By number one, everybody was coming to training, all right? But, of course, he got into the system pretty well.
Yeah.
He was easy going. And plus, he was a hard worker.
He was.
But by no means he was a player that you thinking he was going to be an NBA player.
People don't, when I try and tell people that, no one believes me. I just remember him coming with his long hair, as you say, his dirty mustache. And I remember shooting a 3, and he was inside the key, but he was so long and so athletic that he blocked it. And I was like, holy. If Kenny coaches him, he could probably do something well, but I never thought he was going to get the NBA. Never thought it.
I mean, he would have been like the third leading scorer on the team in that whole reign.
Exactly.
You was number 1 leading scorer, then Stanley was number 2.
Yeah.
And then it was Steve, and then Chris, and then, of course, Victor. But, he wasn't outstanding in terms of taking care of the business as he is now.
Yeah.
He just done what he do, which is control the boards, block shots, intimidate.
And then set some big screens.
Set some big screens. Yeah. But, of
that's
course,
why I scored, and we scored so much, though, because
100%.
he was getting us so open.
And then he can just grab that rebound and throw a long outlet. And, of course, as we done, we full court press, and he was at the back of the press.
Yeah.
So all the steals was being done in front in the transitions. But, of course, the bigger games, as you know, going down the stretch, the semifinal, because, as you know, all you fellas who out there, you didn't play only a half a game.
Yeah.
Because we up 40.
Exactly.
50 points. So, the bench played more times than you guys.
Yeah.
Until we got to the semifinals.
Yeah.
And, of course, he ended up developing by the simple fact that he wanted it. All right, he had tunnel vision. And, of course, he would call me up every day to pick him up.
Yeah.
To get to trainings.
Yeah.
And I'll say every morning I see this text, you going to pick me up for morning? Yeah, I'm going to be there. Every morning he wanted it. So, of course, he wanted it more than I wanted it for him.
Yeah.
All right, because my thing was, I'm going to come to the gym. If you come, I'm going to give you what you want.
Yeah.
And if you don't come, then it's no problem. Because as you know, those open runs that we had in the morning trainings, it wasn't mandatory.
Yeah.
All right? It wasn't even a team practice.
Nah.
It was just workouts.
Exactly.
And as you know, hard work pays off.
For sure. And I mean, for people that don't understand the hours that he put in, do you reckon you can explain his day, in terms of, because I know that he got tutored loads at Scots, and I know that it wasn't even just the basketball that really got him to a scholarship, So do you want to sort of talk through like a regular day for Steve?
Well, I mean, one of the reasons he ended up going to Scots after he's saying that he wanted to make the NBA, in Scots didn't have a basketball team. But, of course, because he's been out of school since his father has passed. And Warren brought him to me because he was sitting at home watching cartoons during the middle of the day and didn't want to go to school. So he just said, get in the car, we're going to Wellington. Then he walked in the office with him. And what I had said to him is, number one, if you don't like school, you ain't going to make it. So I said, listen, I was just working as a development officer, and I just got blossomed the job, at Scots.
Yeah.
All right? And I knew Scots had scholarships. So we went to Scots, and Scott said, listen, we could offer him a scholarship because he was actually staying with Blossom.
Yes.
All right? Because, of course, Blossom had also helped out his older brother, Warren Adams, when he was in Taranaki. So they had a good connection. Whereas Warren was staying in Wanui. All right? So we said to put him in the Scots to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
All right? And, of course, from that situation is I will pick him up 5:30 in the morning. We go to the morning trainings at 6. After that, my role was to make sure he walked through the door. So I would drop him off in front of the school.
Yeah.
So he'll walk into the school. He'll do his schoolwork, but he would take tutors
Yeah.
at lunchtime to catch up because he had a lot of catching up to do.
Mm.
And then after school, if they had training or anything like that, what I mean by training is that they only had one team with 7 players, which was a social team. So they have a bit of a run after school. And then he was involved in with the Saints as well. All right, so then he had Saints training.
Yeah.
So in his heyday, at year 12 and 13, by the time he got to those ages, he was training 3 times a day. And he trained 4 years, never missed a day. It was only one day that I sent him home when he came into the gym and we was working out and he threw up in the rubbish tin, the old green rubbish tin. And I told him, I called up Blossom and said, come pick him up, go home.
Yeah.
All right. But besides that, he didn't miss a day. Even if he sprained his ankle or whatever, he'll still show up.
Yeah.
But the work ethic was the hardest work ethic I ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Prior to him, it was Dion.
Yeah.
All right. Because Dion at age 10, 11 years old used to come. I used to go pick him up in Johnsonville, bring him to morning trainings, and he was going to Silver Stream. So then I would drive him all the way to Silver Stream, drop him off at school.
Which is in the Upper Hut, right?
Upper Hut.
Yeah.
And thank goodness that he ended up going to in the car. Because that was a long drive every day out to Silver Stream. But then Steve surpassed him because he had one vision, which was to make it to the NBA and get that scholarship.
Yeah.
And, of course, 2009, that scholarship offer was given to him because I was coaching in the World Champs. Jamie Dixon was the coach for Team USA.
Yeah.
Who ended up winning it. With Klay Thompson was on that team.
Who was it? Gordon Hayward?
Get Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
Yep. So they ended up winning the gold. And of course, I seen him in the because I knew Jamie who played for Hawks Bay. So
That's right.
Yeah. So I knew Jamie pretty well. And he said, "Listen, man, you guys got a great player, man, on your team, Rob Lowe. I'm very interested." I said, "Oh, Rob is a great player." And Rob played great.
He did
at the World Champs.
I remember.
And I said, "Yeah, man, he's a good player, but I got another good player too." He said, "Who?" I said, "You remember Warren Adams?" He said, "Yeah, man, the guy was a beast." I said, "Listen, he got a little brother down in Wellington, 6'10". What? I said, "He's better than Warren." He said, I got to see him. After the World Champs, I'll come back. So I think we was in Capity that time, playing a scrimmage game or something in Capity. And they just opened up their gym. So we was christening that gym. So Jamie flew in. I drove him out there. We about to go into the gym, and Jamie said, "I can't go in." I said, "What do you mean you can't go in?" He said, "Listen, the NCAA rules is I can't go into the gym while he's playing. You can only introduce me to him." I said, "You flew out here for that?" I said, "Yeah, I flew out there for that." I said, "Okay, cool." So while we was in there playing, of course, you remember what happened. He broke the backboard.
Yeah, I remember. That was the first game and the first time I opened the gym.
That's right. So he christened that gym with a broken backboard. Right? And
we beat them by about 80, I think.
Yeah. And as I came after that game, out of that game we came out, and Jamie was standing outside the gym, and he said, "It must have been him that broke it." And I said, he heard it. Yeah. Steve walked out, and I said to him, I said, "Steve, this is Jamie. Jamie, this is Steve." That's NCAA rules. So he shook Steve's hands, looked at those big hands, and he looked at him, because, I think the coach only want to come out to make sure that he's the size that I said he is.
Yeah.
And he said, "Can you put your hand straight up in the air?" And he put his hand straight up in the air, and Jamie tested it. He put his hands up in the air and tested his height and said, "Kenny, I've seen enough. I'm ready to go back to Pitt." That was it. That was the whole thing. And on the ride back to the airport, he said, "I won him." Well, he got a scholarship at Pitt. And he was 15 then.
That is crazy.
Yep.
And then I guess that would have fueled the fire even more to train because his vision, I guess, would be, I'm going to go to Pitt for a few years. We ended up going for one and then hopefully get into the NBA,
That's right? Well, I mean, it ignited him because he did say, "Now I actually got a scholarship. What you promised that I can get, I got." So now it was about passing your SATs.
Yeah.
All right. So now as I said, if you train from the beginning, you will get a scholarship.
Yeah.
So he trained and he got a scholarship offer on the table. Now you got to start focusing on SATs. Yeah. All right. And to keep your training, which he done, but now lift up your schoolwork.
Yeah.
All right. And that's exactly what he done.
And when was the point where you were like, you know what, his work ethic's there, he's just got a scholarship. But what point were you like, you know what, this guy's actually got a chance to get to the NBA?
That's at D the Nations.
Yeah.
Because right after that, I called up because I was already with D the Nations.
Yeah, that's right.
And Dion
had
was
already
on it.
Yeah.
Him and Richie Edwards.
That's right.
Yeah. And we was in Dallas, playing and all that sort of stuff. So I knew all the connections there. So I called up the guy from D the Nations. I said, "Listen, man, I got a 6'10" kid down here you got to see." He said, "What?" "All right, bring him." So he went to D the Nations. We went to Chicago. So he went to Chicago and he had all NBA coaches.
Yeah.
At the Nation. No college people can come in. So it's only NBA scouts, NBA coaches who run it. So on that first practice, all right, we got there early because we from New Zealand. The Chinese got there early.
Yeah.
The Europeans got there early, and of course us and Australians, we got there.
Yeah.
The United States guys didn't come there the next day. So we had our first training, and he terrorized people. So everybody started fighting. Who's this guy? Where did this guy come from? And this guy by the name of Anthony Brown, all right, who's now the assistant coach at Dallas Mavericks. He said, listen, I want him to play for me.
AB, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said that he was playing, he was coaching Latin America.
Oh, okay.
So Steve played for Latin America. And he ended up as the second leading scorer and the number one rebounder there. All right. And of course, on TV, they was pumping him up. He's committed to Pitt and this and that. And people said, man, who is this guy? From that point on, every NBA scout said he's a pro. All right. And then the next year, his last year, he dominated everybody. Andre Drummond, he just simply took him to school. Andre Drummond was the number one player.
Yeah.
All right. And Nolan's Noel.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He completely, and Steve averaged, he led the nations in scoring and rebounding. And he was playing for China that year.
I remember him and Nerlens Noel used to always go at it, right?
That's right.
Always to go at it. And they used to always compare them. And I was like, don't compare them.
That's right.
Because he plays for OKC now too, doesn't he?
100%. And then his first year, because once he finished his Scots, we didn't know about his grades, if he was going to be eligible, all right? And he didn't pass it. He haven't set his SATs. So Jamie had already arranged for him to go to a prep school in Boston, Notre Dame Prep.
That's right.
So what happened was that we flew to Pitt for his visit on New Year's Eve.
Oh.
All right, so he arrived there New Year's Eve. They had a game. He stayed there 48 hours.
Yeah.
All right, and then he went straight to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
All right, so he went straight to Notre Dame with the school, and then they went to New York, and they played in one of the best high school tournaments ever without a practice. So Steve, his first game, he went against Nolan's Noel, and he was ranked number one.
Yeah.
In his age group.
Yeah.
All right, and he gave him 20-20 on opening day.
Did Steve get ranked now?
Yeah, he was ranked third.
Third?
Yeah, in the world. Yeah, after the Nations.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And, of course, his ranking went down once he went to Pitt. That's why he only got drafted number 12.
Oh, yeah.
When he was going to Pitt, he was third. But because when he left here, as you know, our style, you shoot threes.
Yeah.
You can bring the ball up.
Yeah.
You can do whatever.
Yeah.
When he went to Pitt, Jamie said, all I want you to do is set screens, rebounds, and block shots. You can't shoot the shot unless you got 2 feet in the paint. He hated it, all right, because he wasn't allowed to play. So I flew out there 5 times to make sure that he was happy and he wanted to stay in school because he wanted to leave. He didn't like Pitt. I said, listen, just stick it out.
Yeah.
A few more months.
That's what you got to do.
All right?
And you're out of there.
Gone.
Yeah.
And ironic, because he actually hate Pitt. Ironic, when he got drafted and when we went to New York, it was OKC. OKC had just lost the finals.
Yeah.
All right?
With Russ,
to
James Harden,
that's right.
KD.
To LeBron.
Yeah.
And he traded James Harden to get a big man. All right?
That's right. I remember because James Harden tweeted as soon as Steve got drafted, like, you traded for him. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, talking shit. Oh, my God.
And, of course, Steve was at Pitt wearing number 13. So after he got drafted, we was on a private plane on our way to OKC. And they said, well, okay, we got a press conference. As soon as you get drafted, the next day you got to go straight to the place. So we on the owner's plane going on over with me, Steve, and Andre Robison's parents.
Yeah.
And they said, you got to have a number. Because when you get off the plane, you got to show your number. What number you want? 13. Oh, you can't have that one. Why is that? James Harden just left at 13. You got another number. So I said, hey, man, just go for 12. You got, drafted number 12.
Yeah.
So he went for number 12. All right. So when he arrived there, he showed up number 12.
Imagine if he had gone number 13. That would have been crazy.
Oh, no. They said we wouldn't allow you because the fans wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah, fair enough. So, seeing Steve in that sort of NBA environment, what was it like seeing him, play with the likes of KD, Russell Westbrook, because I know you were over there for a bit, like hanging out with them, chatting with them. What was that whole experience like?
Oh, it was good because I lived over there with him for 3 years.
Yeah.
So he couldn't be by himself. I wasn't planned, all right, to be out there. It was planned for me to support him, help him out, mentor him, and that sort of stuff. But once he went to NBA or even the Pitt, it's somebody else's job now.
Yeah.
I passed it on,
Yeah.
And then I got a call from the organization and saying, I know you're going to stay out there with him. I said, what? He's only 19. He can't live by himself. I said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go out there. So we went on out there, and of course, I sat down after the first couple of practices, and Sam Pressey, general manager, came up to me. He said, man, that's Steve, man. I said, oh, yeah, what? I said, how's he doing? He said, man, he walks into the locker room when he's getting dressed. He's a 16-year-old kid. He's joking around. He's laughing. You know, and we're thinking, we don't know if this guy is real. He said, but when he gets on the court, it's all business. All right? He said, he's the hardest worker we ever seen.
Yeah.
He said, we walk into the facility, he's the first one there.
Yeah.
Shooting his mic and layups, shooting his shots.
Doing his routine.
Going through his routine.
Yeah.
He said, Ibaka used to be the hardest worker, but Steve surpassed him. All right? And a lot of people had predicted him to go D-League, which is in those days, you know. And he's going to go D-League. He only averaged 7 points at Pitt, 7 rebounds, so he's not going to get in there. And I went to that first practice, and I seen Perk. And I'm thinking, man, you got to be able to beat this guy out.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right? I mean, Perk was the man. Don't get me wrong. He just had a championship. He got a ring in the Boston, but he can't shoot.
Can't do,
You know, he's tough. He's rebounded, all that. I said, you know, you bringing in a shot. You bringing in more moves. You got more energy. So you got to go out there and compete every day. Yeah. So he used to come back telling me a lot of the stories, you know, about what was going on. Yeah. And there's some rough things what was going on in there, especially with Perk and him. Yeah. And, of course, Perk was trying to rough him up and saying to people, I'm the silverback in this mother. And he's all trying to intimidate Steve and all that. And he's trying to bump him around, but he couldn't move him. All right? And then, of course, a couple of weeks later, you know, Perk was saying, you can ball, young fella. and they end up starting the last 36 games. Yeah. All right? And they went all the way I think they went all the way to not the Western Conference Finals. I think San Antonio beat them, but they went down to the semifinals. Yeah.
And he played really well.
Yeah, he played extremely well. You know, but being in that environment, you know, and him climbing, but because of his work ethic, you know, it was good. But the people loved him. Yeah. You know, because once again, he was who he is. Because he was asking me, well, what should I do? You know, should I work on my American accent and all that? Because when you're there, and you especially at the draft, you got guys. Dolan's Noel was just sitting right across from us. You got all these guys sitting around. Giannis was in the stands, you know, because I think he went in the 20th, right? Yeah. So you had a lot of key players. Anthony Bennett went number 1, right? And but they all dripping in diamonds and gold, all right? And, of course, they all got swagger. Yeah. And I said, man, you just got to be who you are. Hell yeah. All right? You got to be you, all right? And in that way, they're going to accept you or don't accept you. But you got an advantage because you're a Kiwi. Yeah. They have nothing. They don't know nothing about New Zealand.
They don't.
All right? So the players loved him. Yeah. And KD loved him. Russell really loved him because he set good screens.
Exactly. And they make his job a lot easier.
And he never asked for the ball. In those days, they had problems because KD and
James Harden.
Who just traded. But KD and Ibaka used to go at it. Yeah. Because Ibaka wanted more shots. Yeah. He always wanted more shots. Yeah. You got KD, you got Russ, and you know, you had James Harden on the team, but you know, those two alone, they taking all the shots.
Yeah. And they're quite heavily ball handler, like, you know, they've got the ball in their hands
all the time. All the time. So Steve never asked for the ball. He just done his job exactly what Jamie prepared him to do. Yeah. Set screens, rebounds, and block shots. Yeah. So a lot of people say, man, Steve ain't shooting threes. They didn't want him to shoot threes.
I mean, why would they when they got KD?
They got KD shooting threes, but they need somebody to get KD open.
Exactly.
All right? And what tends to happen is exactly what he did. So they loved him. So he had a great experience.
Yeah. The funny thing is people don't actually understand and they don't believe me when I say Steve can shoot threes though. You know, if you see him shoot, you know, 10 from each spot, he'll probably make, you know, 30 to 40. Like he can hit threes. That's right. But that's just not his role.
It's not his role.
All right? You think he's going to stay at OKC? Because he's been there, 8-9 years now?
Yeah. He's the foundation of the city.
Yeah.
You know,
they won't let him go away.
They won't let him go. I mean, they didn't want to let Russell go. Russell wanted to go. Yeah. But now the last stayer of this so-called dynasty, and even though Steve never been in a championship, they still looked at that when he arrived. They were still a dynasty team.
They were.
I mean, there was a showcase team. They was probably one of the best top 2, you know, in terms of people wanted to watch.
For sure.
Everybody wanted to watch KD. I mean, when I first arrived there, Steve had told me, I asked him in the beginning, I said, man, KD is the man. KD is, I said, no, Russell. I'm thinking, I'm going to challenge him with that because he's playing with. I'm just seeing all the games and being around, and you knew KD was a man. KD would walk in with 15 people wherever he goes. All his boys. They sit in the front row. He walking on. He got swag on top of swagger.
Yeah.
All right. Russell just come walk around with the mean look on his face. All right. You know, he got
Ready
nobody around
ready
him.
to fight someone.
But his brother hang out with him, and his parents come every time. But you know, he didn't have this group of people. KD goes with his group of people.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, KD was MVP.
Yeah.
The years out there. The second year, he was most valuable player. He was averaging 30. You know, I'm thinking, you know, and Russell still was scoring and all the rest of it, but Russell take bad shots.
Yeah.
All right?
He still does.
But then as I seen it develop, I can understand why, because Russell had Steve exactly under his wing.
Yeah.
Point guard and big man. All right? It was a good combination.
Yeah.
And every point Steve would get outside his offensive rebounds is Russell.
Yeah.
You know, KD's not looking for him.
No.
KD's looking to score. But that was his role.
Yeah.
Russell's the point guard.
Yeah.
So Russell makes sure on the pick and rolls, he's going to throw a couple of lobs. Every now and then, he's going to drop the pass. But I just remember the first year, some of those passes that he was bailout passes. Russell would go up, can't shoot it, and try to throw it to Steve, and Steve fumble it. Oh, Russell, man, he would ride him.
Oh, for real?
Oh, man, he would just ride him.
Like, catch the ball, like.
Yeah, you can see Russell's face, man. You know, yeah, exactly. And just yelling at him and all that as a rookie.
Yeah.
But as time went on, as you can imagine, he wasn't dropping those passes.
No.
Because people knew who Russell was.
Yeah.
And Russell's looking for the shot, can't shoot it. You know, then he'd just throw that crazy pass. Steve would catch it.
Exactly.
And then finish it.
It's funny, like seeing Steve in the NBA and everyone saying, "Oh, he's a hard man. He's dirty." Like, he's not dirty. I hear that all the time. He's just so tough. And see, when he gets hurt, he doesn't even react.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
I hate it when people say that. It gets on my nerve because he's not, right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the best. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not dirty at all. He's never done anything dirty with us. He never, like, he's just hard and he's just like a brick wall.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, the rookie year, they called him for a couple of blocks, a lot more than normal, because they didn't used to them hard fouls.
Yeah.
But from the second year onwards, they adjusted. And I'm talking about the referees. I'm not talking about the players who complaining. The referees knew that was just a hard screen.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once he got his reputation of being hard-nosed after Vince Carter threw a couple of bowls to his face.
Yeah. Someone else did.
Nate
Robinson went at him.
He went at him. A couple other people went at
What's
him.
that from Memphis Grizzlies? The big guy. What's his name?
Yeah, you talk about left hand.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name? Anyway, he went at him.
Yeah. But it didn't phase him.
No.
He didn't blink. So after them elbows to the chin, they're like, man, this guy's Superman.
Just made a break.
Yeah, they made a break. So they didn't want to mess with him.
That's crazy.
So no, he just played hard.
Yeah. And now we're seeing him bloody starting in the NBA. Top scored the other game. It's actually unbelievable. I mean, I could talk about Steve all day, but we should probably move on. So what I like to do on the podcast, Mac, I'm a bit of a foodie. I like my food. So what I like to ask my guests is if you could have, your last 3-course meal, what would it be? But before that, if you could share it with any celebrity guest, who would it be?
Celebrity guest.
I always say, you can share it with someone, but then when I get people on, they're like, oh, my wife. I'm like, who's someone that, inspires you or anyone that you would like to have a meal with?
Well, I mean, if I had that as
dead or alive, by the way.
I would have it with Magic.
Yeah.
All right. Because, we grew up together.
Yeah.
He had always been open to me. If I need anything, call up and, homeboy. He even came to New Zealand off of my request and played in the game up in Auckland. And it just really to pick his brain, life after basketball.
Yeah.
Because most of my conversations with him, growing up, it was about playing as a player.
Yeah.
All right. Now, as we all at this age,
yeah,
it's life after basketball.
Yeah.
Plus.
Because he's done so well.
Oh, he's done so well. And he's a business mind.
He is.
So it'll be him.
All right. So if you're gonna have a starter with Magic, any starter meal, what would it be?
Ooh, man. Because now I'm actually changing into the food. I would have, because I'm a burger man.
Yeah.
All right. And
BK, right?
BK. Oh, well, BK was just, my own burgers is the best.
Oh, true. Homemade.
Yeah, homemade. I don't like to brag, man, but, about the late 1980s, I was in Cuisine magazine with my burger recipe.
For real?
Yes. And I still upset with McDonald's,
They take your Big Macs.
The Big Mac, 2 RB patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion, sesame seed bun. I used to have that first. They called me the Mac Attack back in the day. All right? And then when they came up with the Mac Attack, 2 RB patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion, sesame seed bun, 2 of them, fries and the Coke, they advertised and I didn't get a cut.
Oh, you should have trademarked that shit.
I know. So the starter itself, I don't know. I'm more like a crumb prongs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you get some prawns.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your you start with that? What's your main gonna be? So I guess I can probably guess.
Yeah. It would have been burgers. All right, because now I'm actually off beef.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so I would have to move it into a fish burger now.
Yum.
Yeah.
Still good though.
Yeah, grilled fish.
Grilled fish.
Yeah, grilled fish.
Homemade.
Homemade.
Always homemade.
Yeah, got to be homemade.
All right.
Got to be homemade.
What about dessert?
I'm a chocolate cake man.
Chocolate cake?
Yeah.
Just strictly thick chocolate cake.
Thick chocolate cake, mud cake. Second one on is that because I got 2 great desserts, and I don't eat chocolate cake that often no more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to cut it off because if I eat one today, I got to eat another one tomorrow, and then I get hooked. That and cheesecakes, it's my weakness. But chocolate cake.
Yeah. All right. So have you got any future plans with basketball in Wellington, or are you sort of gonna just carry on what you're doing right now?
Yeah. Just really carrying on what I'm doing now. You know, because as you know, and one of the things that my plans is really to campaign of social basketball now.
Yeah.
Because the development of the game, as you know, skyrocketed. From 1982 when I used to walk down the streets with a ball in my hand, and they thought I was a Marine that missed the ship. And when I tell them I'm here playing pro ball, basketball, they didn't know what it was. To where everybody got a ball now and kids want to play.
For sure.
But what's the biggest problem is here, all right, there's no courts.
No, there isn't.
All right. Number one participating sport, and that's they only count in secondary school, is more people playing in intermediate and primary school than secondary school. All right. Everybody want to play. Where can you play basketball after school in Wellington? Now, we go out to Punarua, and I do a lot of work out there. It's with street ball at Cannons Creek, Waitangi, good outdoor courts.
Yeah.
Name an outdoor court, you're going to play a full court game outside Rangatai, which is a school, or some school court. There's no public outdoor courts.
You can't.
ASB took me over 10 years to help try to get that facility up.
And I mean, even then, it's hard to get in there now.
That's exactly what I'm saying. After school, you cannot go out as a young player or even a professional and go out there and play social ball.
Yeah.
Because basketball itself is more social ball than organized ball.
Yeah, there is.
Especially in the States. You go down in the park, who got next? Three blocks later is another park.
Exactly.
You can just find ball anywhere. Here, just to go out there and say, listen, I want to have a run. I don't want to pay the $1,000 to play 40 minutes in the league. And then with the subs, you might get a 20-minute run.
Oh, my God.
I'm talking about going out there playing a couple of hours for a workout. You can't find it.
Yeah. So you really build that sort of social basketball within Wellington.
That's right. So I'm just trying to campaign now of put some outdoor courts up.
Yeah.
You're not going to give us the courts that was required for us at ASB because it took us a long time to put those 6 hoops up.
Yeah.
Now you can go in and the gym is booked with Frisbee. All right? And nothing against these other sports. But listen, you can throw a Frisbee outside.
Yeah. You're right.
Give me one court to go out and play outdoors, and I'll go out there and play and get
sure.
a program going.
For sure.
So really trying to campaign and open up gyms.
Yeah.
Because even when I arrived here in 1982, I used to break in to Newtown Stadium. Used to get somebody to climb through the window to get out for me as a professional to get a workout. In 2 hours, able to get a key.
And it hasn't really changed much since then in terms of courts and stuff. I mean, as you say, ASB, but then there's just the high school gyms, but being the leading participating sport in New Zealand, it's crazy. And then there's the whole thing with the funding. It's a whole nother story.
That's right. That's right. So just trying to give some respect to the game.
Yeah.
Everybody love it. Even in the States, I mean, American football players, every American football player and baseball player play basketball.
Exactly.
That's just keep them fit.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to down the next sports because everybody wants to play. All right. But being able to go out there, and even at ASB right now, you never see a open run with kids. Go on that Saturday, it's packed.
Yeah.
After netball.
Yeah.
netball leagues, then basketball coming, a whole bunch of people play. You'll never see a court with kids playing.
No.
So how can they get better if they don't play the game?
Exactly.
So trying to campaign with that.
Yeah.
That's one of the focuses.
All right, Mac. I know you got places to be, but I really appreciate you coming on. And, for anyone that does know you well, you've always been like more than a basketball coach to me and everyone that you've taught. So I really appreciate, what you've done in terms of, putting in those life lessons. Everyone will know Kenny for saying, eat your veggies, do your homework, clean your room. And it didn't really resonate me until a little bit later in life. But, those things really, really impacted my life especially. So I do appreciate you, as I say, more as a basketball coach, more as a mentor. So thank you so much, Mac, and hopefully catch up soon.
All right, man.
All right, Mac.
Good seeing you, man.
Thank you.
Anytime.